Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the 10th rant of Big Brother 25, entitled The Handful Hail Mary. You know, one of my nicknames of many is the No Sleep Assassin. And boy, was that nickname tested last night. You know, I only have gotten maybe a few hours of sleep because I was the fool, like many of you most likely, that stayed up all night waiting for these fees to return post-veto competition. Now, in this rant, we're going to basically set you up well before Monday's veto ceremony, but because we don't know the events of the veto, I'm seeing rumors online that someone could have gotten injured during the comp. I'm hearing rumors online it could have been a medical evacuation. Every time you go on the Big Brother 25 hashtag, dang, I keep seeing the word Pusha T, Pisha Tree, Pusha Tree. I'm like, what is going on? Is he dissing Drake again? You know what I'm saying? It's so hard to follow what's going on here, coach. A very bizarre week to be fair. Hisam's the HOH. He's using Harry Potter houses to determine who he targets. I'm not making that up. He thinks his Hogwarts legacy out here, coach. I don't know. You got Cameron out here thinking this is claim to fame. Sari, she's out here trying to stop Cameron and Reilly from trying to do the Last of Us cosplay. You feel it, dig me? And Jared is definitely balling like the Black Mamba. Get yourself a cold beverage and kick your feet up, because we got a lot to discuss here exclusively on Recency Bias Radio, where no one is safe from criticism.
I've been thinking, lately it's just me against the world. Round and round I'm caught up in this swirl, trying to dig and trying to burrow. Pressure turned this stone into a pearl. Lessons that I learned weren't always thorough, sugar-coated like a churl. Now I'm really out here on my own. Now my homies acting like I owe 'em, done extending out my arm. Made a lot of money from my poems, been around and now they say I'm on.
Yes, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the critically acclaimed The Pop the Trunk podcast, now Patreon exclusively sponsor Hall of Fame, Recency Bias Radio, here to bring you all the 10th rant of the season. Now, the reason why it's called the Handful Hail Mary is quite simple. When the handfuls realized Hisam the Hitman became HOH, oh, I know the alliteration is top tier, you don't gotta tell me, the lemon booty started setting in. They don't like all that citrus in their diet. You feel it, dig me, coach? You gotta understand, they got real sour about this. They turned into Sour Patch Kids, and Hisam could smell it on them. So, you got Cameron, you got Reilly, you got Matt, you got Jag, and you got Blue Kim. Of course, they are the core five, the handful five, which in the larger onion, of course, of family style, which has already been disbanded because Jared, he just tore them asunder from within. You know, everybody's trying to give Cameron credit for snitching on them last week. He wouldn't have snitched if Jared didn't snitch first. Let's keep it real. Let's stop trying to give credit to the wrong people. But you got to understand, this alliance, they were really nervous, and for good reason, because they tried to make Hisam the week 2 target. They all were planning on backdooring him, believing he was this ringer, believing he was the next Michael Bruner, and for all things considered, it sure feels like Hisam is becoming that. He's fulfilling that prophecy. But with that said, a little callback for the real RBRs out there, the real RBR family members out there. Essentially, what they tried to do was throw Cory under the bus. They tried to set up noms that would be Cory next to Red, or Cory next to America, or Cory next to Bowie Jane. Anything that isn't two members of their handful core nominated together, so they could at least somehow get lucky by the veto draw. And they ended up getting real lucky by the veto draw. A lot of people are thinking production really gave them a blessing with that veto draw, but I like it because it brought on the chaos of it all. But we'll get there, don't worry. So they really tried to push for this Hail Mary, right? And I always talk about how Sari's game, you know, she was forced to be in a prevent defense early on because her son was a nominee as soon as she got revealed to the house. Well, In a similar fashion, because this team decided to play in a Hail Mary offense coming out the huddle, it kind of forced the professors to just play prevent. But because the professors had more players on the field, essentially, because they have more numbers and because the Americas and the Corys are trying to reacclimate to the other side, that way they're not targets over the other five, and because we already know Jarrett's with the professors, it creates a dynamic in which I believe Cory did all of the hard work to not be the scapegoat for the handful five this week. And I got to really applaud you, Cory. Some of the gameplay you're administering. I mean, Cory's going up to Cirie. He's telling her, hey, I tried to tell Reilly, if you say you're close to Cirie, if you say you're close to Felicia, why do you keep throwing shade at Izzy? You need to get close to Izzy. If you're not close to Izzy, are you really close to Cirie and Felicia? Cory sees this game the way you're supposed to see it. And I think Cory's going to be around for a while because he is actually pivoting every time the correct way. And see, this is not something you can do unless you're a true super fan who understands, oh, I see where the wind is blowing, and then you start to pivot in that direction before others can. That way you can be trusted by the opposite side before they are. Now, this is where we'll get to Cameron and the irony of his game last week. I was one of the few people who believed Cameron was in the right for turning on the handfuls before everyone else, just based off how the numbers shook out. Because when you look at it, Jag might have a crush on Blue, and Matt might have a crush. Well, we do know Matt has a crush on Reilly. So it's kind of like two budding showmances plus Cameron. He's the third wheel in this scenario, but all of us can see Cameron might also have a crush on Reilly, and that's what makes the whole she's like a daughter to me kind of weird. And everyone can see through that. See, Cameron thought if he tugged at heartstrings with Cirie and Felicia, who he probably deemed as truly running that side of the house, he thought everyone would just buy the BS from him. Well, I got news for you, Cameron. It's Cirie who mainly wants you to go home this week over Reilly. And that's where the Professor's Alliance kind of gets split for a second, because the HOH and Hisam, he wants to take out Reilly. The real HOH and Cirie, pulling all the strings as the puppeteer, she wants Cameron gone. And 9 times out of 10, what Cirie wants, Cirie is going to get because she has a vote and Hisam doesn't. Now, sure, they want to do something that can be a compromise to both strong players. That way, the alliance, no one feels like they're on the bottom of the alliance. Everyone feels like they are being heard. But this goes back to Cameron's biggest blunder. Instead of him admitting he was working with Reilly from a strategic standpoint, he tried so hard to push a narrative that, oh, I was incapable of turning on her. I just couldn't stay away from her because she reminded me so much of my daughter. Well, Hisam uses this against you this week, Cameron, because from his perspective, if Reilly is his target, and if you view her as your daughter, you're going to fight harder for her to take her off the block if you're not nominated next to her. So now, he's going to throw you up like you're Joel, he's going to throw her up like she's Ellie, and if y'all want to play The Last of Us cosplay so bad, we could turn this into HBO right now. And that's what Hisam did, Coach. He nominated both of them. And he said, winner take all. Both of y'all can't survive this, all right? It's basically part 2. If you know, you know. But with that said, it makes you wonder who is Abby in this situation. I guess it's Hisam. But maybe that's a little too high of a frequency joke for y'all, so I'm going to keep it pushing. But, so this is what you got to understand. Cameron is on the block, of course, next to Reilly. This is solely Cameron's fault. Because, like I mentioned, if he would have just said he was working with Reilly out of strategy, I think more people would have believed Matt was the go-to, better, ideal candidate to nominate next to Reilly, simply because Matt has a crush on her. But when it comes off like Cameron also has a crush on her, it's really hard for the average player to talk themselves into doing this. And I think this is where Cameron truly miscalculated. So now that Cameron's on the block, or before Cameron got on the block, he's trying to coach everyone on what to say to Hisam. You know, when Hisam speaks to Cameron in the HOH room, he's like, you're a breath of fresh air to me. You're a breath of fresh air to me. Now, I want y'all to tell me what y'all see here, okay? Because I thought this was one of the funniest screenshots I could ever take from the conversation between Hisam and Cameron. You'll likely see this later tonight on the Sunday night episode. By the way, the HOH comp, for everything considered, it sounds like it's going to be very fun. It sounds like it's going to be kind of a fresh comp we haven't seen before, based off some of the context clues of what people have been discussing online on those feeds. And I told you all, Hisam had a low moment on Thursday night's episode when he lied about what he heard. But what did I say? Everyone deserves a second chance to atone. So far, Hisam has atoned considerably. And for that reason, I feel justified in not flying off on the panhandle on him too much on Thursday. But let's get to the conversation that Hisam had with Cameron, because I think it's so funny, right? Cameron's trying to create the argument that Hisam is a breath of fresh air to him. Now, you tell me what these pictures tell you. First of all, Cameron, you can't stop yourself from scrunching your face up like you just want to, like you're utterly disgusted at everything Hisam is saying to you. And then conversely, Hisam, I've never seen that position before, where someone has one fist on their cheek and the other fist on the other cheek. That way they can lock in their nonverbal communication and body language to not give away certain tales when they know they're being lied to as well. I've never seen anything like that before. Now, y'all tell me y'all read on that, because me looking at that just for a split second, it tells me Hisam and Cameron both don't like each other, both don't trust each other as far as they can throw each other, and they're both just posturing. And for that reason, I believe Hisam is okay, or was okay at this point, early on Saturday, with someone like Cameron going home as a backup target to Reilly if she happened to come off. Now, the feed started to manifest, and this is where we got to get into the intricate gameplay, because Jarrett, he ended up being in the nether region. Now, apparently in tonight's episode, we're going to be introduced to something called the nether gorgon. Okay, it's supposed to be this beast that traps people in the nether region. And I guess this beast, you get tempted by it during every HOH comp moving forward or something. And apparently, this HOH comp was completely dominated by the professors, enough for Mimi to throw Cameron under the bus initially to Hisam. This is also important to establish a baseline of Mimi's game. She's playing really slick behind the scenes. She also, I believe, prefers Cameron leaving over Reilly, similar to Suri. So if you're paying very close attention, the brown sugar babies have their own agenda, and it feels like Hisam has a different agenda of his own in the bye-bye bees. So all of this is interesting. All of this is interesting. And the professors. So I find all of this very fun. So essentially, Jarrett was in second place and Hisam won in first place. Jarrett is playing such a great game that the majority of people won't tell you about. In my opinion, he threw the comp 100%. In my opinion, he decided to make the decision of going to the nether region over actually winning the comp, because he knew for his game, he can't afford to have any real power just yet. And because he performed so well in the HOH, he was able to appease the family style side, who believed he was the only one fighting his hardest for them. And then on the other end, he appeased the professor side because he guaranteed nobody could win but Hisam, who truly wanted to take the shot first at family style anyway. Or handful, no matter how you shake it. To me, Jarrett is playing masterfully here. And he's truly showcasing the inner black mamba, the Kobe Bean. And I love to see it, coach. Keep it up. His fadeaway jumper right now is unguardable. So that is the situation. He's basically Kobe with the afro right now. You're in trouble, buddy. And if you're not careful, he's going to score 81 on you. You're going to need to put your foot underneath him and twist his ankle, Jalen Rose. So this brings me to Hisam's HOH even further, because even though he has basically targeted Reilly, he's basically stacked up Cameron as the backup, he has this deal in place with Blue Kim and Jag. Now, our brother Jarrett, he returns from the nether region, but then he decides to choose Jag to replace him in the nether region. By choosing Jag, this was smart for two reasons. Number one, Hisam was never going to target Jag because he refuses to do any brown-on-brown crime. Now, me being someone who always speaks about being on code when it comes to black players, I would be a complete hypocrite to look at Hisam's logic behind that and not agree with it. Listen, there's 4 black people on this cast. From his perspective, one of y'all black folks could take out someone brown. Why do I have to do that? I'm not mad at that side of it at all. Trust me when I say that. And I also respect the fact that Hisam is not down with backdooring people. Now, he would change his mind later on Saturday because he got rattled over the veto draw, but I want to further break down this situation. So, what you have to understand is, Blue, Kim, and Jag have a deal in principle with Hisam. This deal in principle is basically a deal where Hisam won't go after Jag, but because Jarrett chose Jag to be safe by pulling him into the nether region, this basically freed Hisam from ever having to consider Jag as a nominee, so Jag is safe for the rest of the week. So the only members within the Handful Alliance that now can be nominated are the other four, which essentially are Reilly and Cameron, who are currently on the block, which means the only two replacement noms that are within that core, that true core, are Blue, Kim, and Matt. Now, up until this point so far, from a chronological explanation standpoint, Blue Kim is completely safe, solely based on the fact that Hisam is under the assumption that she truly will adhere to the LGBT deal that they made with each other. Now, eventually, Jarrett will go ahead and air that out. And see, the funniest part about Jarrett's game is it's so nuanced. You know, and I really want to know what people want from Jarrett, because the swirlers are mad at Jarrett, believing he's the guy who's allowed to swirl, but Kirsten was hated for trying to swirl, when that's not why we like Jarrett. You know, in fact, the fact that Jarrett is willing to turn on Blue is proof that he's not willing to crash out for the sake of swirling like your girl Kirsten was willing to crash out for. I mean, she left the game and she's still liking posts about Matt. She's down bad right now, coach. She needs to be watching old seasons to figure out why she was so bad at the game instead of drooling over the guy who ignored her all game. But, once again, that's too much of a fair critique, and they'll say I have a problem. I think y'all do. But that's neither here nor there. Oh, yeah, we're going in right now. Don't worry. They can catch a stray while I'm explaining the game. Listen, I can multitask. I'm quite ambidextrous. Always have been. So, what you got to understand is, Jag is safe. He's in the nether region. Now, up until this point, fans started to suspect that Jarrett may have picked Jag on purpose for not only to appease Jag and make him believe, hey, I'm on your side, I kept you safe. This also kind of fools the other members of Handfuls into thinking, oh, Jarrett's so loyal to us, he picked one of our core five to be safe. He didn't have to do that. He could have picked Mama Cerie. He could have picked Mama Felicia, even though we all know Hisam would have never targeted those two. So it comes off as if Jarrett was protecting his people from the people he don't really like. But then on the other side of it, Hisam knows Jarrett protected the one person Hisam would never target. So that's what makes what Jarrett did so ingenious. On top of the element of Jarrett's been flirting with Blue Kim. We saw him hug her first after Kirsten left the game. A lot of people think Jarrett pulled Jag out of the game into the nether region so he could have more time alone with Blue Kim. And within that time alone with Blue Kim, he was able to plant seeds in her mind that Jag likes Reilly more than her. And Reilly was straddling Jag when he came back for the nether region that same very night. I believe this was Friday night. And then all of a sudden, Saturday morning, Blue Kim comes out with some short skirt and a halter top on. And in my opinion, Reilly looked a bit jealous with her yoga pants on. Understand, Jarrett is slowly but surely, he is putting together the divide and conquer strategy. Because if he's telling Blue Kim that he's worried Jag might beef with him over her, but he's telling Blue Kim that Jag likes Reilly more than her, he's basically also making Blue Kim feel the same way about Reilly that he feels about Jag. Ingenious gameplay, but it's subtle. And then he's doing all of these things while running up to the HOH and throwing Blue Kim under the bus for playing Hisam all along. Because here's the thing. If Blue Kim and Jag have an alliance in principle with Hisam based around the idea that they will target nothing but white people, this was their words, not mine. Hisam has to feel blindsided by the idea that Blue Kim and Jag are the core alliance with nothing but the white people. And I'm saying that not to be problematic or disrespectful. I'm saying that just from Hisam's perspective, this is how he would see it. Cameron, Matt, and Reilly. So you mean to tell me Cameron, Matt, and Reilly are the people Blue Kim and Jag are most loyal to, but they're running up to Hisam saying that they're willing to sacrifice anyone white. Jag lied to Hisam's face and said he was brought into the family-style alliance late. I was brought into the 8 late. So you got to understand. I think Hisam feels betrayed by Jag. Even though he said he wouldn't commit any brown-on-brown crime, Hisam ran to Sari and Felicia and told them Jag and Blue can go after Reilly. So you got to understand, the Alliance, they see what needs to be done. And up until this point, Blue Kim was off limits solely because she seemed to be an advocate or an ally to the LGBTQ. The minute Hisam realized that they may have been a grift, a strategic manipulation tactic, he immediately said Blue Kim is no longer off limits. So this is the situation and dynamic we have in front of us that's quite intriguing. We have a scenario where Matt, Blue Kim, and America got picked for Veto. So it is legitimately Hisam versus the handfuls in a heavyweight bout to determine who gets to make it out of this week. And I don't care what anyone says, this is pretty good. This is pretty entertaining because with feeds being down this long, either y'all have been fighting for 50 nights and 50 days out there. What is this? Kid Buu versus Goku, coach? I mean, it's starting to feel like Vegeta versus the Ginyu Force. I gotta keep it funky in these streets.
Before I take these Dragon Balls and leave my associates here to clean up, is there anything you'd like to say to me, Vegeta?
As a matter of fact, there is. Look at your men. Now back to me. Now look back at your men.
It's getting
back
personal, coach.
I am not your men. I'm flipping you off.
I'm keeping it a bean with y'all. Y'all know I ain't lying to you. So you gotta understand, Hisam really wants Reilly gone, but the more time passes, the more he's starting to tell himself, you know what, Matt might be a good backdoor option. He's walking back his talk about having integrity and not wanting to backdoor anyone. Now he's talking about, if Matt wins Veto and takes Reilly off, I'm throwing up Blue Kim. If Blue Kim wins Veto and takes Reilly off, I'm throwing up Matt. So he went from basically saying Cameron is the backup target to Reilly, to now basically implying that Matt and Blue Kim are the backup targets now to Reilly. So now Cameron, he went from being second in the queue to maybe fourth in the queue, so maybe Cameron's game from last week did end up helping him in the end, but I could argue it's mainly the sloppy games of the other members within the five that is helping Cameron now, because he's keeping his mouth shut. Now, here's where I'll get to explaining why it makes perfect sense for Sari to want Cameron out. You have to look at how these numbers shake out, but more from a professor standpoint. I want to explain this to people because I know that there's a lot of people who don't get this part of it. There's a lot of people who really want Reilly gone bad. You got to understand, a lot of these people are fans of Kirsten who don't want to see Matt with Reilly, so they want Reilly to go home right after Kirsten because their butthurt Kirsten crashed out. This is a part of this too. I need to just explain that context to you. But the reason why Cameron, I wanted him to go over Reilly, and I still do, is because you have to look at the professor's numbers. Based off context clues, Felicia seems to be wanting to target Cory if she wins HOH anytime soon. Based off context clues, Bowie Jane keeps extracting information from members of the professors, but she never names her target. But she always tries to figure out who everyone else is trying to target. This makes me kind of look at Bowie Jane funny style. She's quite invisible, but she loves to ask questions, and she always tends to defend Cameron. So here's what I'm building toward. If Cameron is close to Red, and if he's possibly close to Bowie Jane, that means Cameron, if you allow him to stick around too long, he's capable of possibly pulling 2 numbers out of that 8 and leaving y'all with just a 6. And now he has 3 to combat your 6, and all he needs is 3 more numbers on that other side, possibly a Cory, an America, and maybe add 1 more number from the original handful of 5, and all of a sudden he has a 6v6 in final 12 in 3 more weeks if you were to take out the Jags, the Blue Kims, and the Reillys immediately. This is why I see Cameron as more of a threat, because if you let Cameron stick around, he can infiltrate, kind of like Neo did to Agent Smith, and he can destroy you from within, a la Black Mamba Jarrett did to the original Family style. That's what I'm concerned about, the infiltration of it all. See, with Reilly, everyone knows she's the ringleader of her side. As long as Reilly stays in the game, it galvanizes the professors to always stick together to go against her side, because she is essentially their rallying cry. She is their lightning rod. Sometimes it's best to keep a player who is a lightning rod that brings people together because they keep the defined side split down the middle. with defined side split down the middle, the game is a bit easier to traverse through early on if you're on the majority side. This is why I believe the better play is to go against what Hisam originally wanted of wanting Reilly gone, and instead going for the alternative route of taking out Cameron. Now, here's the thing, y'all. I think it's best for for professors to keep Reilly no matter what. So I'm open to Cameron going, Matt going, or Blue Kim going, because Blue Kim is just as dangerous as Cameron. Now let me explain this part of it. And this is why when Cirie found out that her son was open to turning on his possible showmans, Cirie looked like a proud mother. She looked like someone who was a Sith Lord who just realized that their apprentice was ready to truly take on the Jedi. I gotta keep it funky. I gotta keep it funky in these streets. But anyway, so let me explain, ladies and gentlemen, how these numbers shake out. That way you all can see why I believe Blue Kim, just like Cameron, is a threat, a bigger threat to the overall buildup of the professors. If Blue Kim has a budding showmance going on with Jared, okay, that's one number in the 8 she's close to. If she has some LGBT thing she's pushing that I believe is a constant grift with Izzy and Hisam, I can create the argument the 3 strongest comp beasts on Professor's side, Blue Kim has a decent to good relationship with. There's an argument to be had she's the bigger immediate threat than Cameron would be from an infiltration standpoint. Now do you see why I say it makes perfect sense if they can get Blue Kim out, that would be the better play over Reilly? Because taking out Blue Kim, that doesn't lead to the other side of the house scattering. Not at all, because Reilly's still there to be the lightning rod and the rallying cry to keep them together, the glue, right? But you can still wipe out someone capable of infiltrating your 8, which keeps your 8 strong. In my opinion, what the professor should be doing, they should be prioritizing Blue Kim and Cameron to go first. Keep that showmance around because there are huge targets that galvanize a side to whack them at any moment. You can split them up right before jury and whack the other one, if not right before jury as well, or right when jury starts. In my opinion, that's the better overall play because Jag's game is in the tank. No one really thinks Jag is playing that well anymore. And that's because ever since he's been in the nether region, he doesn't really have the same momentum. And let's be honest, Jag, you did not establish enough bonds with players on the other side because you were the main one pushing the young versus old thing initially. So, in my opinion, Jag, ironically enough, is the weakest player in the crowd control 3 now. In the handful of 5, I believe Jag is the least threatening player to the Professor's 8. I know this sounds crazy because we all could admit Jag was playing relatively well at first, but similar to Reilly, his game has taken a massive dip. But this is why we love the power shift of this game, and this is what makes us true fans of Big Brother. This is why I celebrated Hisam winning HOH, because I knew it would lead to more drama, more chaos. I just didn't want fees to be down for 17 plus hours, coach. We're starting to get concerned. Dang. We're addicted to these feeds, man. Don't pull it away from us now. Feel like it's Charlie Brown with the football. But that's neither here nor there. So what you need to understand is, in my honest opinion, I think Hisam, if he does, put it this way, if Reilly wins this veto, or if Matt wins the veto to take Reilly off, I think that's the best case scenario for the Professor's 8. Because Matt, with all due respect, is not that good of a player because he doesn't have that many tools in his locker, all right? And because he doesn't have that many tools in his locker to really be able to blindside the other side, everything Matt does, you're basically going to see coming for the most part. Now, he lied to Hisam as well and made it seem like he's not in good with that side and he doesn't know what's going on and he can barely hear anyone and all that other stuff. But I think that's another thing that's starting to tick Hisam off about Matt as well. Because Hisam, he really tried to establish a bond with Matt over the fact that both of them have hearing loss to a degree. I'm not going to say that Hisam has it to the extent of Matt, but I'm just going to say I've seen them have a conversation on the hammock about a conversation like this. Maybe it makes the edit at some point. Maybe it won't if he tries to backdoor Matt. But with that said, though, Matt's not really contributing to the handful five. Not really. He's mainly just the guy that everyone just assumes will win a comp. And that's why I believe taking out Matt this week would be a huge miscalculation, because strategically he's not running the show and he's really just along for the ride. I think the better play, 1,000% for Hisam's game, is to get out a Cameron or a Blue Kim this week. I get why you would want a Reilly out this week, but trust me when I say Reilly staying keeps Matt with a big threat level on his back. If Reilly leaves, what threat level does Matt really have after that? Matt can kind of blend back in after that if there's no Reilly around. See, you have to create a situation where Matt and Reilly start to believe it is them against the world. Then the game becomes even more interesting. Because we all know when the showmance is formed, then you have certain players who want to form around the showmance to protect them because they believe it's best for their game. And that'll probably be the America of the world, Americas of the world. And then you're going to have other players who view that showmance as the perfect showmance to keep going after. And I just think it keeps Bowie Jane on side when you do that. It keeps Red on side when you do that. And at the end of the day, if you can guarantee Blue Kim and Cameron go back to back, I think Bowie Jane and Red never flip on you. I think Izzy and Hisam don't have any options outside of the 8 that they can flip with, except maybe Jag, but I don't know. Right? I think Jag's game, I don't think people respect his game as they did last week right now. I mean, they like the guy, but I don't think they respect his game the same way as they once did. So it creates a situation where, in my opinion, it is best for every member of the 8 to go ahead and, if you can't get out Reilly, it should be Cameron or Blue Kim. And hopefully in this rant, I did a great job of throwing that at you, because I know that there's a lot of people that won't break down these numbers to you in this fashion, but I aim to make the game easy for a layman to understand, because I want every casual fan to love this game as much as I do and become a super fan, just like I currently am. So, ladies and gentlemen, because we don't have the results of the Veto comp, I've already told you all what is likely to happen. If Reilly comes off, due to someone taking her off, it will be Matt or Blue Kim, in all likelihood as replacement noms. If Reilly takes herself off, the likelihood is that Blue Kim goes up. Now, if Cameron comes off, that's where things get really interesting, because I think in that situation, I think Hisam would just throw up Matt. Mainly because, I think he would just throw up Matt. I don't think he throws up America in that situation. Sari wanted America thrown up if Reilly came down just to guarantee Cameron left at one point. But now that she knows that Hisam is open to targeting Blue Kim, you could see it in Sari's eyes, the bloodlust. She knows if we can get a player like Blue Kim out right now that is capable of distracting my son who is playing a Kobe Bryant type game, I'm cooking with oil. So ladies and gentlemen, I did not want this live feeds update to be too long. I wish I could give you all more information, but I think for now this will suffice. And it is really unfortunate what is currently happening. I'm hoping on this Sunday morning that no one is hurt. I'm hoping that they just decided to keep feeds down, and I hope when feeds return, we'll get some fun information. Feeds being down this long, it either tells me Hisam won and destroyed all 5 of them, and there's a meltdown happening on those feeds, or there could have been something very unfortunate, and we probably won't know anything about it, maybe, until later today. But one thing's for sure, ladies and gentlemen, I'm thankful you were here with me today. And thank you so much for watching this video. If you could, please don't forget to like it, comment underneath it, and share with all of the fans of Big Brother 25 that you rock with, Coach. Tonight's episode is going to have the HOH comp that everyone's been talking about. It's going to be very interesting to see how Jared went about doing this comp and whether or not he truly threw it on purpose to Hisam. If my read on Jared's game is correct, he threw it on purpose, all right? And that'll be something for you all to pay attention to. Also, you can look forward to the Nether Gorgon making its first appearance of the season as well. It's always interesting to see new cameos or new gimmicks or new themes brought into the Big Brother house, especially when this week's theme seems to be the scary verse. So let's get scary. I'm Dave Smith for Recency Bias Radio, where no one is safe from criticism. And if you ask the handful of five, nothing's scarier than seeing Hisam with that HOH robe on. Hisam looked at them and straight up told them,
"Hey, yo, lesson here, babe. You come at the king, you best not miss."
You come at the king, you best not miss. And right now it looks like Hisam, he's not going to miss this shot. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see y'all on the flip side for another one. Deuces.